The crystalline throne room of Xylara Prime stretched before me like a cathedral of living light. I'd been a diplomatic attaché for 3 years, but nothing had prepared me for this moment. Ambassador Garrett had fallen ill with some alien virus 48 hours before our scheduled audience, leaving me, Jake Morrison, a 32-year-old analyst who usually worked behind screens, to represent Earth before Queen Vestran. She emerged through curtains of liquid mercury that parted like water, and my breath caught. The Queen was easily 7 feet tall, her skin a luminous pearl that seemed to shift between silver and pale violet. Her eyes were the color of molten amber, pupilless, yet impossibly expressive. Crown-like ridges of what looked like polished obsidian curved back from her temples, merging with hair that moved like smoke, dark indigo threads that defied gravity. She wore flowing robes that seemed woven from starlight itself, and when she moved, the air hummed with power. The Xylaran court knelt in perfect unison. I fumbled into a bow, my human awkwardness painfully obvious. "Rise, human emissary." Her voice resonated like a cello note held too long, both beautiful and unsettling. "You come bearing Earth's petition for mining rights in the Theta Sector." I straightened, my prepared speech evaporating from my mind. Those amber eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my knees weak. The Queen wasn't just beautiful by human standards. She radiated an otherworldly magnetism that scrambled my thoughts. "Yes, Your Majesty," I stammered, then added with nervous humor I instantly regretted. "Though honestly, with looks like yours, you'd make a cute wife. Any guy would sign whatever you wanted." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. The entire court froze. Courtiers stopped mid-breath. Guards' hands moved toward weapons. Even the floating light orbs that illuminated the chamber seemed to dim. Queen Vestran's eyes widened, not with the fury I expected, but with something I couldn't decipher. Surprise? Confusion? For 3 excruciating heartbeats, she simply stared at me. Then her lips, fuller than human lips, tinted the color of twilight, curved into the slightest smile. "I accept," she said softly, but her voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber. My heart stopped. What?" "Your proposal," she continued, rising from her throne. Each step toward me felt measured, deliberate. "I accept your offer of marriage, Jake Morrison of Earth." I didn't." My words tangled together. "That was just a joke, Your Majesty. A very, very stupid joke. I apologize profusely." She raised one elegant hand, and silence fell like a guillotine. Her fingers were longer than human fingers, tipped with what looked like opalescent claws. "Among my people, such declarations before the throne are binding," she said, her amber gaze never leaving mine. "You have proposed. I have accepted. The bond ceremony will begin at tomorrow's dawn." As guards escorted me from the throne room in a daze, I caught her watching me leave. That strange, unreadable expression still played across her alien features, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something far more complicated than a diplomatic disaster had just begun. I spent that night in guest quarters that were more luxurious than anywhere I'd ever stayed. Walls that shifted color with my mood, a bed that adjusted to my body temperature, windows that opened onto 3 of Xylara Prime's moons. But I couldn't sleep. What had I done? This wasn't just a cultural misunderstanding. This was an interplanetary incident. Earth's relationship with the Xylaran Empire hung in the balance, and I turned it into an accidental marriage proposal. At dawn, 2 female attendants arrived. They were Xylaran, smaller than the Queen, but still imposing, with skin tones ranging from soft lavender to deep plum. "The Queen requests your presence for the first courtship ritual," one said in heavily accented English. "Listen, there's been a huge mistake," I began. "No mistake," the other interrupted gently. "The Queen chose to accept. That is no small thing, human. Komen." They led me through corridors of impossible architecture, stairs that curved in ways that defied physics, rooms that seemed larger inside than out. Finally, we emerged into a private garden where bioluminescent plants swayed without wind, and a fountain sang with actual musical notes. Queen Vestran stood beneath a tree with crystal leaves, wearing simpler robes than yesterday, deep blue that made her skin seem to glow. Without her court around her, she seemed different, less intimidating, almost uncertain. Jake Morrison, she said as I approached. We should speak truthfully. Yes, please, I said, relief flooding through me. Your Majesty, I'm so sorry. What I said was inappropriate and... Was it truthful? She interrupted, tilting her head in a gesture that was startlingly human. Did you speak from your heart, or merely from nervousness? I blinked, surprised by the question. Both? You're intimidatingly beautiful, and I was terrified, and my mouth just ran without my brain's permission. Something flickered in her amber eyes. Amusement? Intimidating. Beautiful. She tested the words. Interesting combination. She gestured to a bench near the fountain, and we sat. Up close, I could see faint patterns in her skin, like constellation maps drawn in silver ink beneath the surface. I will be honest with you, Jake Morrison, she said quietly. I am 347 years old by your counting. I have ruled for 2 centuries. In all that time, no one has spoken to me as you did, carelessly, genuinely, without calculation. She turned those mesmerizing eyes on me. It was refreshing. So you're going through with this to teach me a lesson about diplomatic protocol? No. Her hand moved closer to mine on the bench, not touching, but near enough that I felt the warmth radiating from her skin. I'm going through with this because I am curious, because something in your foolish words rang with sincerity, and because... She hesitated, vulnerability crossing her face. Because I am lonely, Jake Morrison. Profoundly lonely. And your clumsy honesty made me feel something I had forgotten. Hope. My throat tightened. This wasn't what I'd expected. The powerful queen suddenly seemed achingly human, despite her alien nature. What do these courtship rituals involve? I asked quietly. Among my people, potential mates must learn each other, she explained. Share memories, thoughts, experiences. It is intimate. The way she said intimate sent an unexpected shiver through me. Over the following days, Vestra Ann, she insisted I use her name when alone, guided me through Xyloran customs. We shared meals where she explained the significance of each dish. We walked through her private archives where she showed me the history of her people, and slowly, impossibly, I found myself drawn to her. She laughed at my descriptions of Earth, a sound like wind chimes that made her whole body shimmer. She was fascinated by human concepts of humor, music, spontaneity. In return, she shared her world's poetry, philosophy, and the weight of leadership she'd carried for lifetimes. On the 3rd evening, as we stood on a balcony watching Xylara's twin suns set, she placed her hand over mine. Her skin was warm, slightly electric against my fingers. You surprise me, human, she whispered. Perhaps your joke was fate's wisdom. And when I didn't pull away, her fingers intertwined with mine. Longer, alien, yet somehow fitting perfectly. The 4th day brought the ritual of shared essence, and Vestran's usual composure cracked when she explained it to me. It is difficult to describe in your language, she said, pacing her private chamber where I'd been summoned at dawn. The room was more personal than anywhere I'd seen. Walls that displayed moving images of memories, shelves holding objects that seemed to pulse with significance. We call it Keshavara, mind-touching, soul-touching. Telepathy? I ventured. More than thought, she corrected, finally stopping her pacing to face me. Her robes today were simpler, almost vulnerable, a deep burgundy that made her skin luminous. It is everything. Memories, emotions, sensation, fears, desires. She paused, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked genuinely nervous. It is the most intimate thing my people can share. The implications settled over me. And this is required? For a true bond, yes. She moved closer, and I could see the patterns under her skin pulsing faster. What I'd learned was a sign of emotional intensity. But Jake, if you wish to end this courtship, now is the time. After Kishvara, there is no pretending. I will know you completely, and you will know me. I should have been terrified. This had started as a joke, a mistake. But over the past 3 days, something had shifted. Vestran's loneliness mirrored my own. Her intelligence challenged me. Her vulnerability beneath the regal facade moved me, and when she looked at me with those amber eyes, I felt something I hadn't expected. I'm willing, I said quietly, if you are. Her relief was visible, a softening of her shoulders, a brightening of her bioluminescent markings. Then we begin. She led me to a raised platform in the center of her chamber, cushioned with materials that felt like silk and clouds merged together. We sat facing each other, close enough that our knees touched. "Give me your hands," she instructed softly. When our palms pressed together, I felt it immediately, a tingle that spread from my hands up my arms. Her skin was warmer now, almost hot, and the patterns beneath glowed brighter. "Close your eyes," she whispered. "Open your mind. This may feel intense." Intense was an understatement. The moment I relaxed my mental barriers, it was like a dam breaking. I felt Vistran's presence flood into my consciousness, not invasive, but overwhelming in its completeness. Memories cascaded through me. Her childhood on a Xylara that looked nothing like the advanced civilization I'd seen, learning to control her abilities. Her coronation. Centuries of decisions that weighed on her soul. The assassination of her closest advisor. The profound isolation of leadership. But beneath the memories, I felt her emotions, raw and unfiltered. Loneliness like an ocean. Duty like chains. And now, threading through everything, hope tinged with fear. She was terrified I would reject her once I truly knew her. At the same time, I felt my own memories flowing outward. My modest upbringing in Colorado, my parents' divorce, my brother's death that had driven me to lose myself in work, my own crushing loneliness disguised as ambition. Every insecurity, every failed relationship, every moment I'd felt inadequate. And though my current feelings, confusion, attraction, a growing affection that scared me. "Don't hide," Vistran's voice whispered directly into my mind. "Please, Jake, let me see all of you." So I did. I let her feel my attraction to her despite our differences, my admiration for her strength, my desire, not just physical, though that was present too, surprising in its intensity, but a deep desire to know her more, to ease her loneliness, to be known completely by someone for the first time in my life. When our eyes opened simultaneously, there were tears on both our faces. Silver tears on her cheeks, clear on mine. "Jake," she breathed, and pulled me into an embrace that felt nothing like any human hug. Her body was different, taller, differently proportioned, but she held me like I was precious, and I felt the thundering of what passed for her heartbeat against my chest. "I see you," I whispered against her shoulder. "All of you. And you're amazing." She pulled back just enough to cup my face in her hands, those amber eyes searching mine. "You are not afraid?" "Terrified," I admitted, "but not of you, of how much I'm starting to feel." Her thumb traced my cheekbone, and the simple gesture sent electricity through me. "I feel it too. This bond forming between us. It is more than I expected, more than I dared hope." "Is this normal for your people?" I asked, my hands finding her waist, feeling the unusual but pleasant warmth of her. "No," she admitted. "Usually Keshvara creates understanding, compatibility. But this..." She leaned her forehead against mine, and I felt the cool smoothness of her obsidian crown ridges. "This is something rare, even among my people. This is Keshtanur, soul bonding." "And what does that mean?" Her smile was radiant and heartbreaking. "It means, Jake Morrison, that your joke has become something neither of us can undo. You are becoming part of me, and I, part of you." As if to prove it, she kissed me. Her lips were fuller than human lips, warmer, and the sensation was electric, literally. Bioluminescent patterns flared across her skin where we touched, and I felt her desire mixing with mine in a feedback loop that left us both breathless. When we finally pulled apart, she was glowing like a sunset. "Tomorrow is the final ritual," she said softly, "the bonding ceremony. After that, you are mine, and I am yours, completely." Looking into her eyes, feeling the echo of her soul tangled with mine, I found I wanted nothing more. The final day arrived with a mixture of anticipation and ceremony that made my hands shake as attendants dressed me in traditional Xylaran bonding attire, flowing robes of deep indigo threaded with silver that matched the patterns on Vistran's skin. According to the attendants who'd been preparing me all morning, I was the first human ever to participate in a royal Xylaran bonding ceremony. No pressure or anything. The ceremony chamber was different from the throne room, smaller, more intimate, lit by thousands of floating light orbs that resembled fireflies. The walls were transparent, showing the breathtaking vista of Zylara Prime's capital city at sunset, 3 moons already visible in the darkening sky. Only essential witnesses were present: Vestron's closest advisors, the high priest of her people, and via hologram, several skeptical-looking officials from Earth's diplomatic corps who'd finally responded to my increasingly desperate messages with bureaucratic confusion and an anthropologist's enthusiasm. Then Vestron entered, and everything else ceased to matter. She wore robes of pure white that seemed woven from light itself, making her pearl-silver skin luminous. Her hair, usually flowing freely, had been arranged in an elaborate style that showcased the obsidian crown ridges, but it was her eyes that captured me. Amber depths that found mine across the chamber and held, conveying a mixture of vulnerability and certainty that made my heart race. The High Priest, an ancient Xylaran whose skin had deepened to violet with age, began chanting in their musical language. I'd been coached on my responses, but the moment felt dreamlike, significant beyond the words. "Jake Morrison of Earth," the priest intoned in English for my benefit, "do you enter this bond freely, understanding that Kesh-Tanur will make you one with Queen Vestron across all lifetimes, in this existence and beyond?" I looked at Vestron. Through our partial bond from yesterday's ritual, I felt her emotions: hope, fear, love. Yes, love. Somehow in these 5 impossible days, we'd fallen into something that transcended species, language, worlds. "I enter freely," I said, my voice stronger than I expected, "with full understanding and open heart." Vestron's smile was radiant. The priest turned to her. "Vestron Thelashara, Queen of Zylara Prime, Keeper of the Eternal Flame, Guardian of 3 moons, do you enter this bond freely, accepting this human as your equal, your partner, your soul companion?" "I enter freely," she replied, her melodic voice resonating through the chamber. "I accept Jake Morrison as my equal, my partner, and my soul companion. Let the Kesh-Tanur be sealed." The priest produced an ornate box containing 2 bracelets that seemed to be made of living metal, shifting, flowing, with patterns that matched those on Vestron's skin. He placed one on my left wrist, one on hers. The moment they touched our skin, they warmed and adjusted, forming perfect fits. "Now the final joining," the priest said, "the sealing of souls." Vestron took my hands, and the bracelets flared with light. But unlike yesterday's ritual, this was more intense, a tsunami rather than a wave. I felt myself pulled into her consciousness completely. And suddenly, I wasn't just feeling her emotions. I was experiencing her existence. I felt the weight of 2 centuries of leadership, the power that flowed through her body, the way she perceived the world through senses I didn't have names for. I felt her loneliness carved into her soul like a canyon, and the way my presence had begun to fill it. More than that, I felt her love for me, vast, terrifying, unconditional. She had opened herself completely, holding nothing back. In return, I let her feel everything I was, my humanity in all its messy, short-lived intensity, my fears and hopes, my wonder at her, my growing love that felt too big for my human heart to contain. The bond sealed with a sensation like a lock clicking home, permanent, eternal. When we opened our eyes, still clutching each other's hands, the bracelets had merged into our skin, now permanent marks that glowed softly, linking us. "It is done," the priest pronounced. "They are bonded. 1 soul in 2 forms." The witnesses erupted in celebration. Musical Xylaran cheers mixed with confused but enthusiastic human applause from the hologram. But Vestron and I only had eyes for each other. She pulled me close, and I felt our heartbeats synchronizing. I could actually feel her heart now, beating in time with mine through our bond. "My husband," she whispered against my ear, the words both strange and perfect. "My wife," I replied, and kissed her as the 3 moons rose fully above the city. The kiss deepened, became more urgent. Through our bond, I felt her desire mixing with mine, a feedback loop that made us both gasp. Her hand slid into my hair, careful of her strength, but no longer holding back her passion. "We should retire to the bonding chamber," she murmured against my lips. Tradition dictates. Yes, I agreed, not caring what tradition dictated, only knowing I needed to be alone with her, needed to complete this bond in every way possible. The witnesses discreetly departed as Vestran led me through a hidden door to private chambers I hadn't seen before. The bonding suite was breathtaking, walls that displayed a real-time view of space, a bed large enough for her height and built for comfort, soft lighting that responded to emotion. The moment the door sealed behind us, she was on me, pulling me close with a hunger that matched my own. Our robes were complicated, but determination and desire made short work of them. Are we compatible? I managed to ask between kisses. Physically? We will discover together, she breathed, her hands exploring my skin with wonder. But the bond ensures we will fit, in all ways that matter. She was right. Different as we were, her skin patterns glowing brighter with arousal, her body proportioned differently, everything about her alien yet somehow perfect. We fit. The bond guided us, let us feel what pleased the other, creating a feedback loop of sensation that was almost overwhelming. When we finally joined, it was transcendent. Not just physical, but spiritual. Our souls entwining as deeply as our bodies, the bond pulsing with shared ecstasy that built and built until we shattered together, her glowing so bright I had to close my eyes. Afterwards, tangled together in sheets that adjusted to our combined body heat, I traced the patterns on her skin, now glowing softly in contentment. No regrets? She asked quietly, vulnerability threading through our bond. Only that I waited 5 days to do that, I replied, making her laugh, that wind chime sound I'd grown to love. She rolled to face me fully, one long leg draped over mine. This changes everything, you know. You are now Prince Consort of Zylara Prime. There will be responsibilities, expectations. Your life will never be simple again. I looked at this incredible being who had somehow become my wife, my soul bond, my everything. Simple is overrated, I said. Besides, I've seen your world now, felt your heart. I wouldn't trade this for anything. Even though it started as a foolish joke? I kissed her softly, especially because it started as a foolish joke. Best mistake I ever made. 3 months into our bonded life, I finally stopped feeling like I was living in a surreal dream. The reality was somehow better. Mornings began with Vestran's body warmth against mine. She ran several degrees hotter than humans, which made her the perfect sleeping companion. Through our bond, I'd wake to her contentment before my eyes even opened, feeling her consciousness stirring alongside my own. Good morning, my heart, she'd murmur in Xyloran. I'd been learning the language, finding it easier now that I could sense her meaning behind the words through our connection. Morning, beautiful, I'd reply in English, then Xyloran, then a mix of both that made her laugh. Being Prince Consort came with responsibilities I'd never imagined. I sat beside Vestran during court sessions, learning the intricacies of Xyloran politics. I represented Earth in trade negotiations, becoming an unexpected bridge between our peoples. And slowly, I became not just her partner, but her trusted advisor, the one person who could speak truth without agenda because our bond made deception impossible. The Xyloran court had been skeptical at first. A human? Bonded to their eternal queen? Preposterous. But they came around, especially after seeing how Vestran had changed. She smiled more, laughed openly. The weight she'd carried for centuries seemed lighter with someone to share it. You've made her happy, her chief advisor, a dignified Xyloran named Thorin, told me one day. In 2 centuries of service, I've never seen her so alive. I'd started to understand what he meant. Through our bond, I felt how much of herself Vestran had suppressed, duty and loneliness creating a shell around her true nature. Now that shell had cracked, and the vibrant, passionate being underneath was emerging. Like now, as she burst into our shared chambers after a long day of negotiations, her usual regal composure abandoned. They agreed, she exclaimed, actually bouncing on her toes, something that would have scandalized the court. The mining consortium accepted your proposal. Jake, your solution worked! I barely had time to set down my tablet before she was on me, kissing me enthusiastically, her joy flooding through our bond until I was laughing against her lips. I told you the compromise would work, I said when she finally let me breathe. Give them access to the outer deposits. Keep the cultural sites protected. Everyone wins. You are brilliant, she declared, then paused, her amber eyes searching mine. Do you know what today is, by Earth's calendar? I calculated quickly. 3 months exactly since the bonding ceremony. 3 months since your joke changed my entire existence, she corrected, her voice softening. She pulled me toward the balcony where we'd first held hands, where 3 moons now hung in the night sky. I want to show you something. She led me to stand at the railing, then placed her hands over mine on the smooth stone. Through our bond, she pushed a memory to me. Not words, but pure experience. I felt what she'd felt that first day when I'd made my idiotic joke. The shock, the disbelief, but underneath something else. A spark of hope so desperate it hurt. The thought that had flashed through her mind. What if? She'd been so lonely for so long that even a human's clumsy attempt at humor had seemed like fate offering her one last chance at connection. She'd accepted not to punish me or teach me a lesson, but because something in her soul had recognized something in mine. I knew, she whispered aloud, from that very first moment that you would either be my greatest joy or my final heartbreak. I chose to risk the heartbreak. Tears pricked my eyes. And? Greatest joy, she said firmly, turning me to face her. You were worth the risk, Jake Morrison. You are worth everything. I kissed her then, pouring everything I felt through our bond. Gratitude, love, wonder that this magnificent being had chosen me. When we pulled apart, she reached into her robes and produced a small box. I have something for you. A 3-month bonding gift, as is our custom. Inside was a pendant, a crystal that seemed to contain a miniature galaxy, swirling with light and color. It's a memory crystal, she explained, fastening it around my neck. I've stored every moment of our courtship and bonding inside, so you'll never forget how this began. As if I could forget, I said, but I was touched beyond words. And I have news, she continued, her excitement bleeding through the bond before she spoke. The Earth Diplomatic Corps has approved a permanent embassy here. They want you to serve as Earth's first permanent ambassador to Zylara Prime. But I'm Prince Consort. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Her smile turned mischievous. That's what makes it perfect. You represent both worlds now. Our bond makes you the ideal bridge between our peoples. She grew more serious. But only if you want it. I will not force any path upon you. I thought about it for approximately 3 seconds. Representing Earth while bonded to Zylara's queen? Using our connection to build genuine understanding between species? It was perfect. I accept, I said. Besides, someone needs to make sure Earth doesn't accidentally propose to any more alien monarchs. Her laugh echoed across the balcony. That remains your distinction alone, my love. Later that night, tangled together in our bed after christening the 3-month anniversary properly, Vestran traced patterns on my chest while I played with her smoke-like hair. Do you ever regret it? I asked quietly. The joke that started all this? Being bonded to a human who'll live maybe a century while you'll live millennia? She was quiet for a moment, and through the bond I felt her considering the question seriously. The lifespan difference is not as dire as you think, she finally said. The soul bond changes both of us. You're already aging slower. Have you not noticed? My physicians estimate you'll live perhaps 3 or 4 centuries now, if not more. Our souls are merged, Jake. That affects everything. Relief flooded through me. I hadn't wanted to think about leaving her alone again. As for regrets, she continued, propping herself up to look at me directly, I regret only that I waited so long for someone to be brave enough, or foolish enough, to see past my crown and speak to me like I was simply a woman. You're not simply anything, I countered. You're extraordinary. As are you. She kissed me softly. My husband. My heart. My best mistake. Your best joke, I corrected with a grin. No, she said seriously, amber eyes glowing in the darkness. The joke was thinking I could ever let you go once I'd accepted. From that moment, you were mine. I just had to wait for you to realize it. I pulled her down for another kiss, feeling our bond pulse with contentment, passion, and love. Outside, 3 moons illuminated Zylara Prime. Below, our combined peoples were learning to work together, to understand each other. And here, In the privacy of our chambers, an alien queen and a human diplomat who'd accidentally proposed held each other close, creating something new. A bridge between worlds, built on a foundation of one foolish joke and the courage to see where it led. "Thank you," I whispered against her skin, "for accepting." "Thank you," she replied, her voice thick with emotion, "for asking, even if you didn't mean to." As we drifted toward sleep, our heartbeats synchronized, our souls intertwined, I sent one final thought through our bond. Best joke ever. Her laughter, musical and joyful, was the last thing I heard before sleep claimed us both. Two beings from different worlds dreaming as one. The alien queen had surprised me, all right. She'd surprised me by being everything I'd never known I needed, by turning an accidental proposal into a love that transcended species and stars. And every day, when she looked at me with those amber eyes and whispered, "You are mine," I thanked whatever cosmic force had made my foolish joke into the truest thing I'd ever said.